For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Now, if you spend any time on social media, I'm assuming you're going to scroll and see somebody doing a lovey-dovey post about their partner. Maybe it's their birthday, maybe it's their anniversary, maybe it's their engagement, their wedding, their first child, whatever it is. You're going to see somebody gushing about the love of their life. And more often than not, you're going to see that hashtag couple goals or couples goals, relationship goals. And if you're single, maybe even if you're in a relationship, it makes you want to throw up. Now, I am, full disclosure, a happily married person. But even then, I look at people when they post those things, and I just want to go and say, like, oh, relationships goal. That's so gross. It just really. So that's what we're talking about on the show today. I'm not some bitter single who's going to lash out at people in relationships because I'm in a relationship. But there's certainly just different things that you actually take note of when you're in a relationship for a long time. Idiosyncrasies, maybe they're called. And just you get into these routines and these habits that you don't necessarily realize until you take that step back and go, why do we do this? Have you noticed that we've always done such and such? So that's what we're talking about on The Scribble, and it starts right after this.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble. All couples have their, I don't know, are they idiosyncrasies? Is that what you would call it? But you kind of just get this routine. You kind of, and it's funny because my husband, we've lived together for almost 7 years, I guess. And there's things that we started doing when we first got together that still continue on to this day. And it's only when we kind of actually take a step back and just question like why we do things or how things are done. And one of the funniest things that we have is the both of us will point something that needs to be done. Like, oh, we got to there's a burnt out light bulb in the bathroom, we got to, but we don't have any more light bulbs. So it's not anything that we put on a list because it's not that we desperately, we're not blacked out of the house. There's still two other lights in the above the mirror. And then when the second one goes out, then you've got, you're down to one bulb. And again, we comment, oh, hey, the light's out, another light's out in the bathroom. But we still, and I mean, it's one of those things where we just don't think to either go and get one because it's not, okay, so if your fridge breaks, all right, that's something you're going to remember and you're going to be like, okay, we need to change this now. But a light bulb, again, we just don't. And then because it happens, let's say in the summertime, we're just like, oh, well, it stays bright. Anyway, we don't need a light in the bathroom. And so those will be things that we do where we'll both point it out. He'll mention it to me. Okay, thanks for letting me know. It's not that he's telling me to go and get one. I'm not telling him to go get one. We go out together. We just don't think. And there are even times where we'll be at stores where they have, a hardware store, whatever it is, and they've got light bulbs, but we just don't think. And we also don't feel that it's worth leaving a note in the phone to remind ourselves, right? And I'm not going to make a trip to the store just to get what? I mean, we're sort of close to stores, but just not close enough to be like, oh, I'm just going to pop out for 5 minutes and go get one. It's a little bit of a trek. So there's that. And then we also have just these weird things. Now, he's from Brazil, I've talked about. And so there are things that are either lost in translation or that are just either him being cute or him just missing the mark entirely. And many years ago, when he was first just even visiting me, he's a fitness model and a bodybuilder. So naturally, my family, who was starting to get into the gym habit and get a bit more active, when he first started coming around, everybody wanted to go to the gym with him because that's his thing. That's what he does. And he ended up getting me, I jokingly said to him about like getting me flowers. And in Canada, getting flowers means like roses, some kind of, something you put in a vase or vase. It's not a plant. And so he ended up going to the grocery store that's right next to the gym. He went with my mom one night. And he ended up buying me a rose, bush, a rose plant, really. So in a roundabout way, yes, he bought me flowers and he bought me roses, but it was just these like little mini, roses, a little bush from. And so just that became a running gag almost, or just kind of, he's not going to spend the, 20, 30, how much is a dozen roses? I don't even know. He doesn't buy me roses. He buys me a plant, which is like $5 or whatever. And it ends up lasting a long time. And there was one time where he went to the store, but they did not have a rose plant, but it was I don't want to say it was a similar looking plant because it's not, but it's, I guess, the same kind of color. It's a vibrant red and it opens up. I had said that it was almost like a lily, but it's not quite. I don't remember the name of it. But anyway, so it was something that we had to plant though. So he ended up buying it from like the garden center at the store, and it wasn't an actual potted plant that was all ready to go. This was like the kit, like you get the little pot and the soil and whatever, and you plant it yourself. So it ended up becoming, he does this every year, whether it's not always Mother's Day, because, we, 2 men in the house, we have, and we've got dogs and whatever. So one's got to be the mom, one's got to be the dad. It's either Mother's Day or it can be my birthday. Either way, it's about once a year that he gets me some kind of a plant, a flower plant. And we have this one that's on the kitchen counter. It's this red one that opens up, and then there's a pink one as well. But the red one that's on the counter, I didn't realize that there's different kinds of flowers. There's ones that are in bloom like all year. There's ones that are just for the summer, and then there's ones called an annual. So anybody who does plants totally is like, you're an idiot, of course. So this, it's a very tall flower, and then it ends up having about 4. It almost is basically like one. Think of a traffic light in the middle of a street that's got like the 4 sides, at the intersection, like a pole in the middle. That's basically what you got. The 4 flowers, one, north, east, southwest, and it grows very tall, but it only really starts to grow in about February, March or so. So it gets fairly tall, and then you see the flowers start to go, and then it opens. This thing lives for maybe a week and a half. At most, maybe 2 weeks. And now it's always on the kitchen counter. It's in the window. And I'm always just amazed by this because it's like it knows, okay, it's February 4th. It's time to start growing. It's really, really weird. But at the same time, again, I sit there going, all year we wait for this thing. Like it does nothing. It does nothing for, how many weeks are in a year? 52 weeks. It does nothing for 50 weeks. It opens, it has these bright, vibrant, it's a beautiful flower, and then they start to, wilt or whatever, and then they crumble or they fall off, and then it's like, okay, well, we'll pull those off, and then you just wait for next year. That's all it is. Now, I understand it growing every year, right? If it's called an annual, that makes sense. But again, you'd think that it would last longer, and we follow the instructions on the box. It's not that we're exposing it to too much sun or not enough sun or anything like that. We're doing exactly, what it says. It's just weird. So and there's other ones, but we've got to wrap up this segment now. But, if you're in a relationship, what are some of the, just kind of the weird things that, again, you don't realize have become a thing until like one of you's mentioned it, or it's somebody else has mentioned it about what you guys do. Same thing when we go out for dinner. We generally will always sit beside each other, and he's very touchy-feely with me, but I also will, pick something out of his nose or, see something in his ear. And I don't tell him that I just do it. So, I mean, obviously when you do that at a dinner table around other people, it's a little bit weird. But yeah, there's just weird things. And same thing with, like my parents, we always laugh that my mom always sits in this rocking chair in the corner of their living room. My dad is on this like old recliner that's kind of got the, like the Roseanne Afghan. You remember the show? There was that Afghan on it. And he has his chair, she has hers, and they're just, and I always laugh and I say, you realize that like even when we're in the living room watching TV, I'm always on the same side of the couch. You're always close by-ish, whether you're right beside me or on the other end. But I always sit on this side, you always sit on that side. So one night we actually changed it up. He sat like in quote unquote my spot, and it totally threw off our dogs. They were totally like confused by this, going, why are you in? And they just would not settle down until we actually moved. Same thing when we go out and walk them. The golden retriever has to be on the right side of me, and then there's me, and then the husky is to the left of me, and then husband is to the left of the husky. So the four of us. And if we have tried this, whether he takes the golden retriever, right? He's on one end and the golden retriever's on the other end. We've tried to like switch it up and have the golden retriever to the left of him, and it's like this chaos right as soon as we got to the public sidewalk, right after we got from our front yard. And I just said to him quickly, I'm like, let's just do back to it. I don't want to look like an idiot, because you always, you comment on the people that have no control over their dogs when they're out walking. Like that's not us. We have control. But even just trying to go like half a block in this new arrangement, this new setup, it just, and it also didn't feel right even to me. So I'm not saying that it's the dog, but I was just like, yeah, for how many years we've done this, it's always been this side and this, and we have it no other way. And again, it's an unsaid thing. Like we just do it and we don't realize it. Because I've also had it where, like, sometimes, if my mom comes and walks with us or whatever it is, or somebody, friend comes by, and they will try to walk, like, to the right of me, so to the right of the golden retriever. And even then, and I have to say to them, like, actually, you go on to the left. And people are like, really? And I'm like, just watch. They'll totally get it if you're all the way on the other side. And sure enough. So send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com. Do you have any of these, like, weird sort of routines, habits? Is the word idiosyncrasies? Maybe it is. I don't know. And I'm the English guy. I was the communications major in school, but it's too early on a Friday morning. I can't. Live@jbonair.com. Back on the Scribble right after this.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. Now, I have made no bones about it, which I've never understood that term. Bonnie Winters, I'm just going to talk across the room. Bonnie was a writer and an editor at a publishing company. That's how I met her probably about 17, 18 years ago now. Well, more than that, almost 20 years ago. And we have different words and phrases that we can't stand. One of Bonnie's is on site. We're going to have to do this as a segment. I'm looking at Bonnie. She's not even, like, why are they even here? They don't even pay attention to me. Bonnie, I'm going to get you on the microphone. We're going to tape a segment about words and phrases we don't understand. I don't understand ones like nevertheless. Like, if you just break that down, it's a compound word, or I guess it's a triple, whatever. Nevertheless. If you actually, right? Or moreover. Moreover, what does that even mean? And I really went through these, a whole bunch of things, because my husband is from, Brazil, and he knew English when he started conversing with me on my radio show all those years ago. And it was interesting because he was learning, I guess you'd call it classical English, traditional English. And of course we have all these, colloquialisms and slang and we have so many different words for things. And so not only did I have those discussions with Bonnie when we worked together at a publishing company, but then it was fascinating to kind of realize when he's asking me, what's the difference between a cabinet and a cupboard? Well, that's a really good question. I didn't know. And then I'm trying to think and I have to explain it. Meanwhile, I was the English major, but you're not taught things like that. Like, why do we have so many words for something? Dinner and supper. Like, what do you want for supper? And he's like, what? Oh, sorry, dinner. Like, it's just really strange. Anyhow, so we all know that I hate social media. That's what I was going to say. I've made no bones about it. I don't know. And, but what I do from time to time is I actually... Like, I have followed, or I guess maintained following a few people just because it's sheer entertainment. Now, I'm not saying that I get pleasure out of other people's, like, misery, but I do, I guess. Because I'm a good person that way. Now, I've talked about one of these people on the show before. I met him on a red carpet event. I don't even remember. It was... Oh, I can't even remember, but it was just, he was beside me, and I just remember thinking this is a very weird guy. And at the time, I don't know that Instagram was around. We're probably going back like 10, maybe close to 15 years ago. And I remember all of a sudden him, asking me all about like what I was doing there, and he had this like really pretend, like a fake microphone. Like when, at a high school play or something, you'll have like the cardboard microphone that's just like painted to make it look, or it's like spray painted silver and you're just kind of like, wow, okay, it's a prop. That's what this guy had on the red carpet. And I just remember looking at that going, it's really strange. Like, I'm not sure, is he in character? Like, is he playing something that I've just never heard of? Now, you also have to remember this is going back before the time of like influencers and YouTube personalities and TikTok stars and crap like that. When you actually had to have talent to be, or when you had to have credibility to get onto a red carpet to interview people, which is why we stopped doing that for the last few years of the radio show. Anyhow, so I just remember looking at him kind of going, okay, maybe he's a character, whatever, he's doing a shtick or something. And so he was striking up conversation, and he was starting to, what was it? He started singing to Patti LaBelle. I can't even remember what red carpet we were on. But she was performing something, and he all of a sudden started serenading her, which was also just kind of weird because everybody starts looking over like, who's singing on the, like, what is that? What's going on? And it wasn't a good scene that he was causing. Like, it was more so, what the hell's going on? Like, why? And the thing that I do remember was looking at her because she's, sort of like looking in his eyes, and I thought trying not to laugh because it was really it was just awkward. It was just really strange. And again, had this been a time of like camera phones and shit like that, I would have absolutely been like recording it on the down low, like close to my hip. I'd be holding my phone, but that wasn't the thing at the time. And it was just really weird. Like it was kind of weird. And so a few days later, maybe it was even the same night, I don't recall, I got, somebody added me on Facebook. And again, you have to remember that I was on the radio with like 300,000 listeners and whatever. So I was kind of just whatever, right? The more the merrier. You're listening to me somewhere. Okay, cool. And then I was like, oh, it's that guy. Okay, fine. Now, I've never had a conversation with him ever on Facebook. Like, so from that day forward, from the time that I met him on the red carpet, I've never had a conversation with him since. Okay. But because he's a friend on Facebook, and this was back before they started fucking around with it, that you only saw, like, you actually saw people's posts and not just like random ads and videos every, 2 scrolls. So fast forward all these years later, he's, now this is always from his point of view, right? He's a very like down on his luck. I've got talent. I've been a singer. He was on the first season of American Idol, and I think that sort of gave him this, like, I guess an ego about himself, but also maybe just this sense of like reassurance that I am something, I've made something. But I mean, even we see that now with the people who win the show, and that's, it's all, with all due respect to the contestants, the show just doesn't have the clout that it did anymore. And that's not saying that these people aren't good singers. People just don't care at this point. And so he was on the first season, and what he does is he makes these like, ads, I guess you'd call them. Like, there's that banner picture that you have on your Facebook page, and he said that it was a special guest on the Kelly Clarkson talk show because, she was on the first season of Idol as well. And he was in the audience, and if you didn't know, I mean, I'm in entertainment, so I get things like that, and I know everybody in the PR department at NBC and things like that. So I just know that they would not have made a graphic. Like, he went and took the logo from the show and said, like, you know, special guest, and you know, you have to just kind of look at that and go, wow, this is sad but hilarious. And so he is always the best singer in the world. Nobody appreciates his talent, and he sings out on the street corner, and people heckle him, and they're just jealous that he's got talent like Mariah Carey. I mean, these are actually things that he rants about. And so, you know, he had a shit fit a year or two ago that it was his birthday, and he was planning, you know, like fun and games and all this stuff in Los Angeles at his rent-controlled apartment that he lives with his mom. And he was posting it, but nobody RSVP'd. And that was also just kind of like, I'm there for everybody else, but no one's there for me. But here's my Venmo, send me money for my birthday. And it's, again, like, it's just fascinating to watch. And so, you know, he had a dispute with his neighbor. He sings out on the street corner outside when he's trying to sell stuff on the sidewalk, because he's got like he calls them a pop-up shop, but it's really just him selling garbage, you know. People have complained about it, and they're just jealous, and it's this and that, and he never gets a break, and when will I get my break? And he was apparently invited to sing the national anthem at some baseball game out of town, and he was basically begging people to, like, give him money for bus fare so that he can go to this other town. And then was asking if there's anybody in the area that he can, like, sleep on their floor and stuff like that, so this is the thing. As an entrepreneur, I can appreciate, the word is hustle, I guess you use now. I can appreciate somebody's hustle. But to a certain point, you have to, as Simon Cowell would tell them on the show, sometimes you have to give up the dream. You see it on Shark Tank as well, right? Where they're just like, you have to give up. Like, it's great to have the passion. It's great to still want to do it, but it's not going anywhere. And don't get me wrong, I am the first person who, when somebody had told me that I was a shitty writer, I remember there was a newspaper in Alberta that I had applied for, or no, I wasn't even applying for a job, I was just trying to be a columnist. I was just sending stuff that I was writing every week, and the woman had told me to perhaps find a new career, you know, maybe you should pursue a different career. And I held on to that email for a very long time, because that, again, to me was motivation. I mean, I guess there's a difference between knowing you're a good singer and a bad singer, knowing you're a good writer and you're a shitty writer. I had been writing professionally for several different national media outlets, so, you know, I knew that I had something, so this was just some, you know, bitter coot, you know, at a rural newspaper. As for this guy, I mean, it's just fascinating to see that, you know, oh, it's my birthday, here's my Venmo, send me money. Nobody supports me, I'm there for everybody, how dare nobody reply to my birthday, but here's my Venmo, send me money. Like, you just almost kind of go, wow, this is a reality show by itself, if it wasn't such a tragedy that is his life. And so the other day, and I think because, like I said, the way they've programmed Facebook now, because I will sometimes just type in his name and seek him out just to sort of see what's happening. Because it's always the woe is me thing. It's always blown way out of proportion. It's always that, you know what, yes, maybe you did have a bad day and you might exaggerate or embellish to kind of get those, oh, you know, I'm so sorry, oh, you know, give me a call if you want to talk, oh, I'm here for you. But when that's the story of your life, like, I don't know, right? It's just, so there's that. And what happened the other day is that he had his identity stolen, somebody got his bank card and stole all of his money, and so I had texted one of our colleagues, who met him, like, knows who that person is because we were on the red carpet all together, right? And I just said, like, look at his page, like, there's just something that doesn't add up here, where you're always complaining that you have no money. You can't afford the bus ticket to go to this gig that you got. You complain that nobody bought anything from your sale, so that's really your only your only revenue source. And then you're going and saying that somebody, like, cleared out your bank account. And I just said to my colleague Jenna, I'm like, doesn't this seem like he's about to start asking people for money? Because now he's got to wait for Wells Fargo to investigate and all these things. And I was like, for somebody who's always bitching about not having money, how much could they have taken from him? And I said, like, just wait. I think in the next couple days, we're going to see that he's going to be, you know, asking, or he's maybe just waiting for people to offer up money. And again, like, I would say just be upfront, but don't do the woe is me and be the victim. So that's one person who I always sort of just get a kick out of. Because like I said, if it wasn't so dramatic, like if there were legitimately things happening, but it's always just these rants of like, well, fuck these people who haven't supported me. I've been there for... Yeah, but everything is revolving around you. Like, you know, sometimes our actions, right? I mean, I had to take that step back many years ago when I was having relationships. And by relationships, I just mean former coworkers, friends, you know, classmates, whoever, not romantic relationships. I'm just saying relationships with people in general. Were ending left, right, center, sideways, upside down, whatever. And it wasn't until I kind of took that step back and go, wow, I was actually being a really pushy, shitty friend. Like, you have to sort of acknowledge, I've screwed up, I ruined that relationship. Yeah, I did that to that person, that was me. But he did that to me, so that one's on him. Like, you have to hold yourself accountable, right? Otherwise, you're just going to be in that's going to be your life. I don't know how fun that is to go, you know, onto Facebook every day and just bitch about how shitty everything is. Like, do the opposite, right? Everybody else makes it seem like it. Go and say that you had a great sale. There were so many people that supported you. Because when you're going every day, you're going and saying that nobody buys your shit, nobody's interested, nobody's supporting you. Well, then people are going to go and say, well, they've got a point, right? But if you go and say, I've got this great life, I got this gig. Like, show the positives from your singing at the baseball game or whatever it is, but not like all the behind the scenes drama. This isn't like an true Hollywood story, right? Maybe someday it will be, but I don't think he's big enough yet. So there's him, and then there's this other person who follows one of our business. I don't even know how we know this person, or maybe he just followed and we followed him back, but he seems to pop up. And like I said, I don't spend much time, but I don't remember his name. I remember his like username or whatever it's called, his handle. Do we call it a handle now? His screen name? I don't know. So if I happen to go on, I think, and again, because it's something that I've clicked on his page and I've scrolled, I think now Instagram is like, oh, Jeremy likes this guy, so we're going to show him more of it. But again, it's something had happened to his house. There was either like a fire and they need a new roof. He lives with his parents. They need a new roof, or they need some kind of construction. So they set up a GoFundMe, which again, very cool. Like, if you can get that support from your audience, whatever, absolutely. Crowdsourcing or crowdfunding, whatever it's called. Yeah, if something happens like that, you know, whether it's medical bills, whether it's something, absolutely. And I'm not knocking that. I'm not mocking him doing that. But it goes just like that other guy I was talking about, where now he's going on rants about how nobody's supporting me, nobody's doing this, where are they when I need them? And he's also posting screenshots of conversations. So he had this was a few days ago, he had messaged somebody, I don't know who this person is, I guess they're a YouTube star. And so he had messaged the guy, and did a really long sort of introduction. Oh, hey, I know that you wrote a children's book before, and I was wanting to pick your brain about it. I'm not sure if there's a better social media page to contact you on, but maybe this one's the best one, so just let me know. The guy ended up writing back, like, cut to the chase, what do you want? And there's a part of me that was kind of like, yeah, I see that. I kind of get that. Like, just, you know, just ask me what you want to ask me, in other words. And so then it's like, oh, well, sorry, you don't need to be a dick. I just was being polite to ask you, you know, you should be flattered that I'm wanting your insight and advice. But then he goes and posts the screenshots of this fight he's having with, you know, random YouTuber, and wanting, again, that support from his audience, right? He's rallying the troops. He's like, look at how mean this guy was to me. And nobody supports my GoFundMe. And, you know, why can't I have this? And look at what this person said to me. And it's like, wow. So like every third or fourth post is just how everyone's against you. And maybe you need to change your attitude, right? Again, it's going back to what I said about my relationships. When I've sabotaged them, when I've done something, when I've screwed somebody over and kind of was maybe a bit of a sociopath or whatever it is, I own that now. I mean, again, it took me a few years to sort of recognize, but you know, you've got to sort of dial it back and go, what am I contributing to this? Whether it's a bad relationship, whether it's a problem, whether it's people always telling me off, or people always, like, is it everybody and not me? Or is it me and not everybody else? And so we also have a relative, well, she's I guess a relative in law. Does that make sense? She's not my cousin. She was married to my cousin. He's since passed away. I don't even know if she's a relative anymore now that I think about it. Anyhow, and so she is forever posting on Facebook. It's almost like she's just this helpless mother who like needs advice on every single goddamn thing when it comes to being a parent. She's got a 9-year-old son, and but it's always just like, oh my God, he's got a fever and blah, 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 and soliciting advice. And sometimes it's almost like medical advice too, where people are saying like, oh, you can give him Tylenol. Oh, you can get him. Just like, I would talk to a pharmacist or a doctor. Like, I mean, maybe these people are your friends, but I don't know. That's when it's giving your kid pills and crap like that. I mean, I realize these are like over-the-counter drugs and, but still, I just don't know. But again, she's somebody else who I'm kind of like, oh, I want to see what's happening in her world, because again, it's always just this, and she'll even post like, does anybody know what time Walmart's open till tonight? How about you just Google it or you fucking call there? Like, I don't even know if it's just for attention, if you're just bored, you want interactions with people. I don't understand it. And I realize that's sort of the gist of social media, which is, hey, notice me, whether it's for good, bad, or, whatever. But these are grown people. Like, she's well in her 40s. The Hollywood guy, the wannabe singer, he's also well into his 40s. The GoFundMe roof guy is, I would say, maybe late 20s or so. But you just have to kind of look at this and go, these are adults? Is this really like, wow? And so the other week, I think I've talked about this story. I got together with my cousins. They are in their 50s. I'm 41. So they're a little bit older than I am. We did a girls' night, and it was the funniest thing, because that's where I just said, like, I have enjoyed, since I stepped off the radio platform of our syndicated radio shows, again, with those 300,000 listeners and like 40 stations and people constantly coming at me and always having to post and whatever. Like, we just live in our own bubble at home, my husband and me and our dogs, and it's just nice. Like, there's no drama. I'm not worried that like people are sliding into his DMs or he's like creeping my pit. We don't even follow each other on social media. He's not worried, because even my Instagram bio says something to the effect of like the only broadcaster who doesn't give a shit about social media or something. Like, I really don't. I don't care at all. And he was not like that at first, because now he's not an Instagram model. He's actually a fitness model, because I manage his career. So he's not doing Instagram modeling. He's modeling sports stuff. So that is important for him to be getting likes and followers and things like that. And, once you're in a solid relationship, you're just kind of like, well, the flirty DMs are just a little bit gross after a while once you're sort of settled down, right? But that's my entertainment for social media. I mean, again, does it make me a bad person because I'm kind of laughing at these people's misfortune, or are they causing the misfortune themselves? Are they just making it worse? Really? And so that's something that I was saying with my cousins at dinner. I'm just like, I don't want to be very, very negative. My parents are incredibly negative people who, if my mom comes to walk the dogs with us or with me, I can already know when she's about to comment on somebody's grass or their flowers or their front door or their fence or the weeds in their yard, or just like, I can already, like, I'll see her looking in a certain direction. It'll catch my eye and I'm like, okay, she's going to complain about that car being rusty. It's got nothing to do with her. It doesn't make one lick of difference to her. But she's got an opinion, she's going to bitch about it, she's going to complain about it. Maybe that's just for the sake of making conversation, I don't know, but that's how my parents are. And so once I was able to recognize that a few years ago, that's again where I took that step back and was like, I don't want to be like that. My parents are retired right now, right? This should be all their kids are out of the house, we're all in our 40s, we're all great success in our careers, happily married, all of us. They've got grandkids for my two brothers. This should be like, we should not even know where they are. Like, do you know, like, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, they're going to go up and do a road trip for the day. Oh, they're going to take off for the weekend, or they're going to go away for a week, or they're going to take a cruise. Oh, they're going to go do this. Oh, they're going to drive to Vegas, whatever it is. Like, I have no interest in tracking the whereabouts of my 60-some-year-old parents. I don't. And that's, but they're not like that. And that's fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being a homebody. We are certainly homebodies I always say that we're just a married old couple now. But, but we're not negative about it. We have a good time. We have laughs. Like, we're constantly laughing all day. Like, but I don't allow that in my life anymore. I don't allow the negativity. And so I've taken that step back, not speaking to my parents, really almost at all, because they're not invited to our house, because there's always criticism of like, those curtains should be like this. And she truly does that. We even went for dinner, for was it my birthday, I think, and I had like a chicken burger and fries. We didn't go to like a fancy place. It was just like a quick sit down restaurant, and we're sitting and kind of talking, and they're bitching about whatever it was, and then my dad just out of nowhere was like, you're gonna eat that burger today? Like, just gonna have all the fries? And I thought, what? How? First of all, you noticed that, so that's kind of sad. Like, I'm not sitting there paying attention to how people are eating or what they're eating. Like, I'm focused on my own food and having the conversation. He was watching that I was, eating all the fries first or whatever it was that I was doing, but for some reason it came across that it it pissed him off or something, and I just thought, wow, this is really weird. Like, that's bothering you? Like, the fact that you have to speak? Maybe you can make an observation and just, all right, whatever, I noticed that, and leave it at that. But this is like somebody, like I did something to piss him off, that I ate in the wrong order for him, or I should be going back and forth from one to the other. Like, I have no interest in having that in my life. I really don't. We have such, I gotta go. All right. Well, send me your thoughts on all of this stuff. The social media bitching, do you feel better about your life after you read stuff like that? I do. But again, your life is what you make it. So if that's all they want to do is live in misery and pity parties and sorrow, have at it. It's not for me, though. Live at jbonair.com.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on The Scribble as we head into hour 7 of the show. No, we are going to wrap things up here. I just have to tell you, this is absolutely true. When we had the discussion before doing this show, when it comes to a relationship topic, my team, with whom I've worked for almost 20 years now, they already were able to call it and say, you're going to run longer than the 30 minutes. Like, we just know it. You're just not going to, because it's not that I gush about my relationship like I mentioned at the top of the show, because I don't do that, but I comment on other people's relationships and other things that people do. So for me, my team is just kind of like, it's going to be longer. Now, the thing with this podcast versus doing a radio show, you're very restricted to time. You've got your 2-hour block, 1 hour, 4 hours, whatever it might be. With a podcast, there are no rules, right? If I want to make this a 3-hour episode, we can. But for consistency's sake, we've generally followed the rule of it's 30 minutes every week. And we've done that on purpose because, some people will listen to this, like on the treadmill, and so they do 30 minutes or whatever it might be, 45 minutes. So they know that Jeremy Bradley on the Scribble, it's going to be 30 minutes. That's how you can time it. Maybe you're going to walk the dog. Maybe it's exercising. Whatever it is that you're doing, you know that it's going to be 30 minutes. That's rather than looking at the clock or having a countdown, it's the way to do it. And I don't really care for podcasts. I mean, I listen to a few. I listen to Smartless. I listen to Club Random, Bill Maher. And I don't understand. Sometimes it's 30 minutes and then sometimes it's like an hour and a half. Sometimes it's like 2 hours. And that's where I kind of like that consistency, because if I'm going to be walking the dogs for an hour, okay, I know this one's about an hour. Good. That's it. So with this podcast, it's not like, it's over 30 minutes. I'm going to be overtime. I'm going to have to be paid for overtime. It's my company, but so when we approach that like 26, 27 minute mark, and I start to see out of the corner of my eye, you don't obviously see this room, but where I'm sitting to the left, so let's say like 10 o'clock from where I'm sitting, is the window where I can see the other, my team, my producers or whoever. I can see often movement out of the corner of my eye. That's how I know we're running late. That's how I know we're kind of approaching. And then because I'm wearing an earpiece, they'll go and say, let's wrap that up. And there's even times, I have to tell you, at least twice, I think, this show, where I've heard, wrap it up. We'll get to the commercials. We'll get to the next segment. We've got time. Don't worry. It's not a big deal. So there you go. Anyway, all of this stuff that I've been talking about relationships, send me an email live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com as we head into minute, 39 now? It looks like it's counting up on the time here. I will talk to you same time, same place next week. Thank you so much for listening. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye-bye for now.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real